All right, welcome to another episode of Seeds of Music, the web's #1 resource for independent artists. I'm your host, Kyle Williams, and this is our weekly web show where I bring on music industry professionals and successful independent artists to talk about the ways to build a bigger, stronger fan base and earn more income from music. Now, just a quick announcement, we have an iTunes podcast. It's just the audio-only version of this show. You can head over to iTunes and search for Seeds of Music, Rise Above the Noise, hit subscribe, and get all of the latest episodes downloaded straight to your mobile device. And if you love the show and you want to really help out, leave a rating and review with iTunes. This will improve our ranking, give more exposure for the show, help more artists, and get bigger and better interview guests. Plus, I'll give you a shout out in the next episode just to say thanks for all your awesome help. On today's episode, we have independent artist Kat Parsons. She's a performing artist who's making her full-time living with music. And, obviously that is just an awesome thing to be doing because we know the music industry is very difficult to make money in, and it's very difficult to even make any sort of living from it. But what I'm finding out is that more and more there are certain key elements that are common between independent artists who are making a full-time or more than a full-time living with their art, music. And we're going to talk about those two elements, the two money-making elements of a full-time performing artist with Kat Parsons here. So let's just jump right in. All right, Kat, thanks for coming on to the Seeds of Music web show all the way from Maryland. I'm here in Long Beach, but I know you're actually originally an LA girl, with 13 years, you said you lived in Los Angeles?
Yeah, not originally, but I lived there for 13 years.
Okay. Well, we'll leave all the smack talking about LA
towards the end of it.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah.
A wonderful place full of dreamers.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique city. Or maybe we can talk smack about Runyon Canyon. I love to talk smack about that. All the dogs everywhere and whatnot. It's pretty cool. All right, so anyways, I digress in the beginning of these interviews, so we're just gonna jump straight in here. You're making a full-time living from your art, and that is music, and that is like really amazing. Everybody knows that's not easy whatsoever. But there's a couple things that I know that you're doing to make that happen, and we talked about this before. One is you have an email list and you fans who punch in their email on your website or maybe at your shows in order to keep in touch with you, and you've actually been able to sell a couple EPs over the course of a year in that time. I just wanted to talk about that. I mean, the email list for you, like how does that work? I mean, how do you get fans onto your email list in the first place?
So just to clarify, I have been making a living from 2005, but I have also now, my life is kind of splitting off into many directions, and music is still, of course, one of the most important ones.
Yeah,
but I'm also doing some other stuff now. For the first time since 2005, I'm doing some other stuff that's also contributing to my living and is because of some really passionate interests I have about some other things.
Can you tell us
just to clarify that? Oh, sure. Yeah. Through a lot of my touring, particularly internationally, I learned about human trafficking and was very compelled to be involved somehow in the anti-trafficking movement. I came back to the U.S. and learned a lot about the what is going on in the U.S., and it's very rampant. It's in every community, and I felt that I needed to be involved, and I started volunteering, and now I'm working for an anti-trafficking organization that I really believe in and we think is doing great work. So I'm doing that a couple days a week. So it's, my first job.
Okay. Well, that's awesome, though. I mean,
yeah, it's wild.
if you think about it, I mean, that's really awesome because, like, first of all, you're working the job because, like, you wanted to work it, not like because you had to, because you're already making a living as an artist, but because of your artistic career, you were able to be connected with something else that's close to your heart, and I think that's awesome. Just to roll back to the to what we were talking about with the email list, you had, I know one of your EP releases just within the first week, and I know the album was selling for $5 a pop. You made about $2,400 just in the first 7 days. I mean, what were the steps that you took to make that happen?
We're rounding. It was $2,453, so that would be $2,500.
Okay, $2,500. Sorry. I'll round up.
So, you had mentioned when we first got in touch that you had interviewed John Oszaka, and I basically did a launch sequence based off of what he teaches in the
Mm-hmm.
Music Marketing Manifesto
Mm-hmm.
and in the Insider Circle. And I really believe in his methods. I really think it's exciting because many times as an artist, you don't really know what you're doing. You're just kind of trying a bunch of stuff, and everyone has an opinion, and there's so many, things you can do. There's so many social media platforms, and it can be pretty overwhelming and exhausting, and
Mm-hmm.
you just kind of wait to see if anything works.
Yeah.
And with his manifesto and his kind of method, it's really exciting because it's actually measurable, and um, it puts the power back in your hands as opposed to just going like, I hope this works. I mean, we're still always saying, I hope this works, but there's some
There's a
very
difference
clear thing.
between having like a working knowledge, because basically I know what he teaches is direct marketing. It's simply like direct response marketing, where you're not spamming like spamming like at billboard ads or whatever, or getting like TV or radio and then hoping that people will come to you. It's actually you are bringing your fans to you, and you are speaking
Yeah.
directly to them and building a relationship there. And I know a lot of musicians, maybe even some people listen to this, are really adverse to learning marketing, even on the basic level, because I don't think you need to be an expert at marketing to really make it work for you. I mean, how has that been for you? I mean, do you feel like you're an expert at marketing? I mean, you're making a living, but what's your marketing
Um,
knowledge on a scale of 1 to 10?
well, I would say, -10. There's still so much for me to learn. However, I have been told by other people that I am good at marketing, and I think that's kind of in comparison to a lot of other people. But to me, what he teaches is deepening the relationship with your fans.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like you're going and saying, okay, I'm just going to do this so someone will buy my music. So it's kind of from the base thing. What do you do music for? You
Mm-hmm.
do music to express yourself. You do music to connect with people. You do music because you love it and you want to share it and you want to like be connected to the
Yeah.
world and share common human experiences. And so oftentimes, I mean, everyone has a different style. So my style is very much geared towards talking to my audience and sharing, personal stories and sharing kind of what was the genesis of a song and what made me write this. And if you're lucky, then your fans are people who are open to you and have had similar experiences and say beautiful things that, like this song saved my life or this song blah blah blah. And so what you're doing is just like deepening that relationship with your fans. So it's
Yeah.
not, the marketing is getting people to know you and
Yeah.
getting people to, on your side and feeling like you're on their side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like this cold, you're not marketing a product, you know that you don't think will matter to them.
We're
You're
not
marketing your
prospecting
kind of
oil
like your
on
heart.
Meadowlands.
Yeah, you're like
Yeah.
saying, here's my heart, and I would love to know yours too.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Now that doesn't mean like you don't have time to talk to everyone maybe. So it's not, I'd love to know yours, so let's get into a year-long pen pal. Can't do that. That's not sustainable. You don't have the capacity to do that with multiple people. But it's more just like, here's my experience. I'd love to share it with you. And I'm so happy if you find something useful or meaningful to
Mm-hmm.
you in this. And that's my hope. And I think people, I know I really appreciate it when people are honest with me and share their honest experience
Yeah.
and
So that's pretty much just the key to building your, or one of the key aspects of building your email fan list is just once when they're on there, just keeping that in mind that you're there to actually have like a conversation to learn more about them and share more about yourself. Doesn't mean you have to be a voyeur and reveal everything. I mean, I know some people
right.
feel pretty. Some people feel like their lives are pretty private, and like for me, like personally, that's. I mean, I like to have a private life, and I don't like to tell everybody anything, but I'm still able to tell compelling stories about things that have happened in my life. And I sign up to other email newsletters for musicians or artists or marketers, and they can be very similar, but they're still able to craft emails in a way, or craft responses to my emails that show that they care, and that's what really matters in the long run.
Yeah, well, and I think you're right. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be giving all your intimate details, and you don't want to do that because that will leave you feeling really like you've used yourself for that. But you
Yeah.
are communicating something in your songs, and usually there's more to that than the song itself. If you were, how did something come to be?
Yeah.
There's some universal experience that you had that
Hmm.
made a song come to light.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sharing that. It's almost like, writing kind of columns about your own music.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
So
I think also, I mean, and the marketing kind of tips that are involved in that is knowing how to time that connection, how to get that connection read, how to get people to open that connection and be
it's
open to that
yeah,
connection,
yeah.
and how to, you know, encourage people to strike while the iron is hot, to do things in a limited time period so that people take action. I mean, that's just like,
You're just battling people. You're just battling like the fact that it's a noisy world,
yeah.
and people are distracted, and they very blah, oh my gosh, I can't speak today. They very may well. Am I even saying
They
that right?
very well may
They
be.
very well may. Wow, man, worst host ever. That's me. They might really want to like buy your album or check out whatever you're offering or hear from you, but they're really just so busy. So you're really
Yeah.
learning the art of how to get your message in there in a way that's convenient and non-obstructive for them. Which I think all of this, everything we're talking about here, is like pretty much like the one element I think of what makes you successful as a full-time performing artist. Now, the second element I wanted to hit up is we're talking house concerts,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's a big portion of what you do. How exactly do you get people to pay you to play at their house? How does that work?
Once they express even a tiny bit of interest, I never let them go. um, a lot of house concerts come from other house concerts.
Hmm.
Have not ever done a house concert that is part of someone who regularly hosts house concerts. All my house concerts are oftentimes first time hosts. Maybe they've hosted something else before,
Hmm.
but they're all from my email list.
Hmm.
So again, that deepening of
Again, email people.
relationships, yeah, is has really made a difference for me in keeping in touch with people. And then I do kind of an annual, hey, I'm available for house concerts during a certain time period, and I have a certain number of dates, and I would love to come to your house. And I'm still refining that, and I'm still trying to figure out ways, because here's the thing is house concerts are so fun. And everyone who hosts them love them. I
Yeah.
mean, I have not had one house concert that was a dud. I mean, not one house concert where the host hasn't been like, "This was awesome,"
Yeah.
you know. Um, and to many people, it's just a foreign idea.
Hmm.
What do you mean? And I charge my friends, and
Hmm.
that feels weird having friends come over to my house
Hmm.
and me ask them for money. And so it's just kind of like educating people about what is a house concert, how much
Okay.
fun it is,
Hmm.
how great a time everyone has,
Hmm.
and how it can be totally affordable for you because it can be a shared expense with all of your guests.
Yeah, because they're
Um,
thinking, oh, can I? First objections they're probably thinking is like, oh, I can't afford that. That's probably too expensive. So you say it's really not, and they say,
yeah.
oh, would that be really? I mean, would that actually really be fun or just really lame? And you explain how no, it's been great, and you can even give testimonials from like other house concert that you've
Yeah.
given. People were like, yeah, yeah, she rocked the place. But you're probably playing. The one thing I'm curious though is. Have you ever do you know other artists that do house concerts, and are some of them do music other than acoustic stuff, like maybe a little bit louder? I find it hard to believe that a full on rock band could be like really
Yeah.
rocking it out at someone's house. But have you seen anything like that?
Mostly those. that type of thing I've seen more at house parties as opposed to a
Like in
house
the
concert.
backyard?
Yeah,
Oh,
something
okay.
like
So
that.
it does
But you
happen
are
though.
right that
Yeah.
I it is mostly kind of acoustic performers. I have a little sound system that I bring and I
Mm-hmm.
plug in for all of my concerts,
Mm-hmm.
but I am playing, solo piano or duo or trio,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing that does really lend itself well to
Yeah.
that situation.
Yeah.
I do imagine that it would be a different framing for a rock band, and people would tend to want to make that more, I would imagine,
You'd have
more
to
of
get
like
that.
a
Yeah.
party
Yeah.
versus the concert. I mean, everyone is sitting there in chairs. There's two sets. There's a
So you're
break
talking about a
between sets.
listening, yeah, listening
Yeah,
sessions,
it's a
more like
listening
a,
room.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But we
yeah,
use
exactly.
concerts as like a broad term, but for these softer acts, it's more like a listening session where people want to sit and really pay attention, and they're not like, everyone's not always off in some other place like chatting about other stuff, and people
Yeah,
are like, shh, she's playing.
yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
I was someplace in this house in Portland, and there was one of those going on, and then it was like a party in the whole house, but in a separate room, there was like this old guy with like a white beard who was playing acoustic, and everybody was like super quiet and like very still and listening to him, and he kind of had like that old school folk uh, like Steven Stills era
Uh-huh.
type music, but it was really cool. But yeah, I'm
That
just
is
like,
cool.
I think yeah, I'm just curious to see if there's any like bands out there with like a loud sound that are really making the house parties or house performance
Yeah, I
really work
saw
for
a
them.
YouTube video of Nickel Creek doing a house concert. There are three people, but again, it's also kind of acoustic
Hmm.
music.
Hmm.
But what I was just going to say about what you said about the guy in the other room is I really engineer my concerts to go well. So I make sure everyone has a place to sit and everyone is close to me.
Hmm.
And people, there's an introduction, the host introduces me, there's all sorts of things in place to make it a really great experience
Hmm.
because a house concert where people are sitting there and listening is so fun. A house concert where other people are just kind of milling around and I'm really background music, that's not so fun. Even for the guests, they don't get as much out of it
Yeah.
because there's not a connection that's being made. There's not a dialogue. And the way that I do my shows is a lot of conversation as well. So there's a lot of great kind of getting to know you
Yeah.
between the people in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a social element that can't be avoided at some point. What do you think? I mean, you don't seem to be like a shy, introverted
I'm
person,
not.
but I mean, do you know anybody who's successful with this who is maybe shy and introverted and maybe kind of is a little awkward socially? Because I'm wondering about the artists out there that probably are like their objection might be, well, I can't do house concerts because I have a hard time talking with people and socializing, and I'm really like introverted. I
Uh-huh.
mean, do you have any advice for them?
Then they probably need to find another avenue. If that's not right for them, then maybe there's something else that is right for them. Maybe just being in the studio is what's right for them, and then they
Mm-hmm.
got to really figure out how to sell the albums.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm definitely very comfortable socially with people, and so I have a really good time meeting people. And um, I don't know. I mean, if someone has social anxiety or feels afraid, it is scary. You are going into a place where you don't know anyone.
Yeah.
Maybe they could bring a friend with them that would make them feel a little more comfortable, and that
Mm-hmm.
could be their roadie or whatever. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe, maybe just doing it, maybe doing a few free ones to see, like, okay, how does this feel? Can I handle it? Do I get better with time? Is this something I'm more comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of really successful artists who are very shy.
Mm-hmm.
I think of Cat Power, and she is notoriously shy on stage and has kind of run off before or sang with her hair covering her face. And so there's a place for everyone. That's not the kind of artist I am, so I don't know how to do that. But that has worked for her,
Yeah.
and that works for other people. There are plenty of successful shy artists. I don't
Okay.
know in the house concert setting what that situation is.
Interesting. So outside of the house concerts themselves, you are still playing just like the regular shows at the venues. How are you making money from that?
Well, I'm not playing, first of all, I'm not playing as many of those as I used to. Um,
Because you're starting to work with the human trafficking nonprofit. Is that?
yeah, and I think sometimes those shows are frustrating, and so
Is it because people
I
don't listen? They're not paying attention as much, or?
no, there's just so much stress involved. Oh my gosh, how many people are gonna come? Last time I sold it out, but the time before that I had 5 people, and then what about this time? Like I have no idea what makes people come and what doesn't make people come, and you know, oh, is the venue gonna blah blah, and where do I park? And whereas you go to a house concert and people are like, the queen has arrived.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
And you're like treated so well, and they're so glad you're there. And
Hmm.
venues, there are a lot of really wonderful venues, but there are also, if you have toured, you get some great venues and some not so great venues where they're just wondering how many people you're going to bring and they don't care about your music.
I think
um,
that's on it. To be honest, I feel like that's 99% of venues. 99% of venues are looking to see how much income you'll bring into them by people coming to the door, whether it's like a cover or people who are gonna drink and whatnot. So, I
mhm.
mean, I that's just my personal take on it.
Mm.
But still, like, I mean, at least knowing what they're looking for maybe will give you like some empowerment because you can. That's what you need to focus on. Necessary. I mean, obviously, you want to have your music down and have your performance down, but if you can unlock that key for how to get people to come to those live shows at those venues, then
Mhm.
that could be pretty powerful stuff. What are you?
Well, I think it's really great to play the smallest venue, that basically you want to fill whatever venue you play. So if you can fill a small venue, but you can't fill a large venue, then book the small venue
Okay,
and
gotcha,
fill that until no one can fit anymore. And then you have to move to the larger venue.
gotcha.
Like, don't make yourself feel like shit by working so hard to get this great show at this great theater,
Yeah,
as the headlining act, and then like 10 people come,
yeah.
and, it's cool that you played that place, but you'll never play there again, and, whatever. But, I don't know.
That's a tough.
And I also think a lot of people do really great things with other musicians. When I was living in LA, there were so many musicians who formed bands with each other and things like that and did really great stuff. It was like they combined things together. And I think that sounds so appealing to me because you're working together with someone. It's not so lonely, kind of as you are rising and falling by yourself. You're kind of rising and falling with someone
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
And musical collaboration is so exciting and so interesting. You're doing new things that you weren't doing on your own. The person is challenging you. So there's a lot of like really great collaboration possibilities in every town. There are other musicians who are great to co-write with or
Hmm.
form a band
Yeah,
or play regular gigs
yeah.
together or whatever.
It's so how like important do you think it is to really work with musicians as like instead of trying to like compete, really work with musicians
I
to
think
grow your
it's so
career.
stupid to compete. There's no point in competing. What are you competing for? There's enough pie for everyone. And you got to trust that what you have is you and what they have is them. And I mean, we should be on each other's side for sure. It is not an easy path. Music isn't an easy path.
Yeah.
And we should be supporting and, you know, I really dislike any kind of competition with other musicians. I think it's a waste of time and energy and
So in your experience, like that having that kind of focus where you're not focused on that concept of working in the music industry as competition, that's given you more positive results.
oh yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
I've seen other people, I mean, people have accomplished way more together than they have separately. And the people who I've seen have a lot of success, I never heard say one bad word about another band, about another artist, about, other people. It's just it makes you look bad if you have something to say that's um,
Yeah, in any case,
something
like,
unkind to say about.
whether you
Yeah.
work a day job and you're talking smack, I mean, or no matter what, like when you let like garbage fly from your mouth, it's just gonna come back
Yeah.
at you. Just my personal experience, but it's good to get your take on it since you're out there actually doing it, and you kind of know what works and what doesn't, and you see other artists that hold a similar mentality getting good results from keeping like a mentality that we're not competing with each other, trying to beat each other down. I totally agree. I
Mhm.
totally agree on that. I mean, some people might disagree with us, but
Well, and for me, I really
yeah,
needed the support of my fellow artists. Like, you are leading a very particular kind of life, and it's different than other people's
it's
lives.
mutual shared suffering.
Well,
Yeah,
you need that to kind of share. Oh my, I mean, you know what a great gig feels like, the high that you have, and what
yeah,
a crappy gig feels like, the low that you have.
yeah,
And to have
absolutely.
other people to share, oh my gosh, yeah, that was so funny. And the thing is about music is it is so full of peaks and valleys. And I remember, like, most notably, I was on this MTV show and I got picked up by a limo and I had a costume person and a makeup person following me around all day, and I was just like treated like a rock star. And then the next morning I had to be in Palm Springs at 6 a.m. to play on their CBS Morning News for their Free Food Friday
Hmm.
at Wiener Schnitzel.
Hmm.
And it was like boiling hot. It was terrible, you know. It's just like the ups and downs are literally within 12 hours of each other.
Yeah, yeah,
There is so much humbling. There's about being a musician,
yeah,
and there's also so much exciting.
yeah.
Those talk about not making sense. That those sentences were very, the grammar was not correct.
Oh,
But you get the
yeah,
point that I'm
yeah.
making.
It's just like one minute you can have something great, and one minute you can't. That's why it needs to be known that resilience is, you can't underestimate that, and you can't have expectations for,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
you can't have. I'm totally against rock star expectations. Other people might they might be going for that, but for me personally, as like a musician, as an artist, nah, not digging that.
Well,
But
life is life, and you kind of get this idea of what it's like on the other side, like when you get the thing that you want the most.
yeah,
And it's just not that simple. I mean, first of all, you still have your same problems. And I have a friend who's a very successful musician as far as like Grammy nominated and such. And I said to her one time, so what does it feel like having everything that we all wanted, you know? And she said, it's just life. It doesn't feel any different. You know, it still has its struggles and it still has its,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
still have to promote the next album and you still have to, be be working hard. So it's not, you
It
know,
never gets it never gets easy. Like I feel like it doesn't get easier. Like you'll always like need to work hard, but it won't be as painful. I don't know. Does that make
well,
sense?
yeah, I think certainly there's a threshold where you're financially, where you are living more comfortably,
Yeah,
and not stressed about rent and
yeah,
stuff and
yeah.
the basic survival things. But ultimately, you have to be loving the music because if you're not, then
Forget
it's not worth
it. You're not
doing.
gonna you're
It's
not
not
gonna like
worth
it.
doing.
Yeah,
And you have to take joy in, I think, you have to take
yeah.
joy
No, I agree. I agree.
in those moments, in the moments that you connect with someone where someone says something about how your music has touched them, and that's amazing. I mean, so I think you have to love it
Hmm.
because otherwise you're just kind of chasing this rabbit and then you like get there and it's a mechanical rabbit that's wrapped in a blanket and you thought it was this soft snuggly rabbit. I
I
read
love
that
that. Yeah,
once.
I love. What was that from a book? It sounds like
Yeah, it
very
was from a
poetic.
book.
Very
I really
poetic.
liked it.
Well, that's awesome. We'll end this interview on that awesome summation of the music industry. Hey, sometimes it's just a mechanical rabbit when you thought it was soft and fluffy.
So
Okay.
you better love what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Don't think like this will be worth it someday. It has to be worth it now.
Yeah. It has to be worth worth all the ups and downs that you're inevitably going to go through. So, Kat, like, thanks for coming on to the show again and sharing everything that you know about, like, your email list and your bread and butter house concerts. And I think that's really, really cool. I was just, the whole time you were saying that, I was just imagining in my head, like, doing a house concert and how awesome that would be. And maybe, like, someone would come up and hand me a beer while I'm doing it. And I'm like, yeah, cool, man. All right, this is working out. So, anyways, thanks again for coming on the show, guys. We have her website linked up below, so make sure to head over to her site and check out her music. Do you have any free music available for an email address?
Of course.
I knew that because I saw it.
I have a song called One Day, which is kind of a lullaby with strings that it was one of those moments where you have a song with strings and you're like, this is it. I'm playing with an orchestra.
Yeah.
And kind of a lullaby about how nothing makes sense until it does.
Okay, awesome. Well, guys, head over to her website. She's got an email sign up. Punch in your email address, get those free tracks. And
that's catparsonsmusic.com.
Catparsonsmusic.com. We'll have it linked up below. Thanks again, Kat.
My pleasure.
And that wraps up this week's episode of Seeds of Music. On the show today, we had Kat Parsons. Make sure to check out her link below, pick up your free tracks, and enter in your email address, and show your support for her career, and her music. Next, if you haven't yet, sign up for our Seeds of Music email newsletter. You'll get updates on new interviews, vlog episodes, articles, plus special newsletter content to help you build a bigger fan base and sell more music online. And once again, we do have the iTunes podcast. Head over there, subscribe, leave a rating and review. That would really, really help us out to get more exposure and grow this show. Also, social media, like and share this interview on Facebook, tweet it out on Twitter, or share it on any other platform you deem so to be worthy of being shared on. Okay, that was a weird way of saying share it on any other platform, but yes, you get the idea. And last, comment on the video. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on these interviews. Are there subjects that are missing that you'd like me to touch on? Any kind of suggestions for any aspect of the technical, the audio, the video, subject matter, whatever. Do you know someone who would want to be on the show, or you think should be on the show? Or maybe that person is you? Send an email, to my personal email address for the show, kyle.seedsmusic@gmail.com. At the most, it takes me 2 days to get back to emails, but I always answer every email that comes to me. And remember, we are the future of music.